Let's do it.
We'll do it live.
Welcome to the Grappling with Podcast. Dr. Chris Hardy and William Walker will take a deep dive into topics covering wellness and prevention, performance, recovery, and injury management. Our mission is to provide the latest science-based information to help you get the most out of your grappling journey, both on and off the mats, and help you overcome any challenges you may be grappling with. Dr. Hardy is a licensed physician and BJJ practitioner, but the contents of the podcast are meant for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Please seek out personalized care from your own medical provider prior to implementing any medical treatment or intervention.
Bill is a licensed buffoon. He says things that are a little squirrely. Do not hold these things against his gym mates, his family,
Steroids.
Chris Hardy, Harry Hardy, or anybody at his gym.
Oh,
That's the one. Sorry. Talking about my vascularity again.
oh God.
You can't see it, guys, but this arm is pumped.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
He did a bunch of curls
Forearm.
before he came on
It
on
goes
camera
away.
today.
Actually, I did jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I did. And it was fun. How are you?
I'm feeling old AF today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole day F.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not going to say you look it, because you look pretty good with that new haircut.
Thanks, man. I was telling you earlier, it's a transition to no hair because I'm sick of freaking hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
My wife loves me. I don't care.
she
Did
does.
Brittany give you your haircut? Was
Yeah.
it today?
Yeah, today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Brittany's doing the best she can with what she's got to work with.
You got to tip her extra for that one.
I usually do anyway.
Please.
Just for putting up with me anyway.
The whole lice thing that you have is also a big one.
Yeah,
my
well,
gosh.
that's part of the. Now you can see them if they're
Yeah.
there. They can't hide in the. Yeah, I was just, giving you my tales of woe about being freaking mid-50s
Yeah.
grappler and not being able to do 2 days hard in a row. And
Yeah. Back-to-back days in a row is tough for anybody at times, but then especially when you get up there.
dude, yeah, but it's ridiculous. So I'm not going to sit here and complain on the whole podcast today.
I brought a violin.
Dude, yeah, you need a couple of them, man. We need a little string quartet for my freaking. Yeah.
So
I'll eventually stop complaining about it when I come to terms with it. But
Dr. Chris is a little grouchy today because he's tired. That's basically what it comes down to.
Needs a nap.
He needs a nap.
dude, I need a nap. Instead of open mat, it's open nap. Dude.
Yeah.
I like this. Just set down sleeping bags on the floor of them.
Amy and Olivia are going to crush that one.
Dude,
Yeah.
we'll go in there and we're like, hey, it's open nap on freaking Sunday, man. Everybody comes in with blankets and we'll watch a movie
Heck yeah.
that we don't care about
Like
just so we can nap.
When you're 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Actually, it's a full circle of life, though, right? You take
Yeah.
naps when you're young, and then you freaking hit them again when you're
Yeah.
older. Yeah.
I couldn't take a nap for the life of me until,
That's shocking.
You met me.
well, not until I met you, but like probably only like 5 years ago.
That's true.
Really?
5 years ago, something happened that
You get older.
yeah, it just age. Because I couldn't nap. I would try and I couldn't fall asleep.
Oh, man.
And then about 5 years ago, I started being able to, but now I'm in that kind of like zone where I don't know if, like timeline wise, I feel like 20 to 40 minutes is like a good zone.
That is good.
But if I get past that,
Yep.
I'm done. I'm done for the day.
Well, yeah, and that's they've actually studied that, believe it or not. Yeah, that's kind of an optimal length, around 20, 30 minutes.
I find so there'll be times where I get maybe from work. So we have our night classes at 6, right? And I will get home at like 4:30 and I will go straight to our like recliner chair or maybe our couch or something. And I just try to lay down right there, not look at the phone, and just get in 20-ish minutes. And I feel like it helps a lot.
It helps a ton.
Just decompressing from the day, working and all that kind of stuff.
What's interesting is, I talk about sleep a lot on this podcast too, and the previous publication that I, AKA the book.
Bingo.
We talked about,
Where is it?
She's asleep.
I was looking.
But the sleep is really interesting. There's sleep inertia, and there's sleep there, which is when you nap too long and you feel like kind of sick,
a different dimension almost.
Yeah.
But during the day, there's in the brain, adenosine builds up, and it's one of the things that kind of drives sleep along with the circadian rhythm with melatonin and all that. And when you nap, it kind of reduces some of that buildup of adenosine in the brain to make you feel more refreshed. I mean, it literally, chemically, it's actually doing something.
Yeah.
It's really kind of interesting how that happens. Adenosine's a byproduct of ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do we get more buildup as we get older? Like, does it happen quicker? Is that why
You know
we
what?
feel the need to nap? Or
That's a great question. I don't know if I had to have to look that up. If I have to speculate, though, I think we have a lower threshold for getting tired. I think your brain is like, dude, these organ systems aren't working as well. You need to, Yeah. But I'll actually check that out. That's a good question, whether or not we actually have more. I don't think so. I think it's more to do with a lower threshold for sleepiness. But, older people have their circadian rhythm starts getting messed up too, where you'll see they'll wake up at 4 a.m.
Right.
That's the whole stereotype, right?
They're napping hard during the days.
is that because the melatonin production goes down?
Yeah, I think all the wheels start to come off a little bit with a lot of things, right?
Just naturally.
Yeah, naturally. I think you're, it's more, I think it's the effects of melatonin, maybe production. I'm not sure.
And then that probably makes it even worse because now you're adding in like sleep issues, which sleep is so important for recovery and everything. So once your sleep starts tanking, then everything just kind of starts falling apart.
Yeah. And then, as you age, you start getting into the whole stress response thing where, my body was just like, what the hell did you just do to me? Right. 2 days in a row. And then it takes so much time to kind of reset itself. But I think many of us, especially in my, when I'm, my jiu-jitsu journey in my 50s now, is that it's so fun. It's so addicting.
The activity,
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That I don't think I ever get fully recovered anymore, right? So I'm always accumulating training debt, so to speak, right?
I think, and I think that's exactly, because I think I'm the same, but because I'm younger, there's just more frequency that causes that.
Yeah, sure.
But as you get older,
it's a stress cup thing.
You can still run into it.
Yeah.
You did, and you did 2 days back to back, hard training.
That's the problem.
1 day off, and then a Sunday with newer movements of your strength.
Yeah, I'm kind of putting together a new strength and conditioning program with a lot of isometrics and stuff, and I think that hit me pretty hard yesterday. So it's just interesting how to negotiate this, the smaller cup that I have, right? And try to get the most out of it, right? But and also not just say, oh, well, enough of that, because what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Quitting?
Yeah,
no.
quitting.
You know what I mean? And that's not on the table. So it's kind of negotiating that has been a frustrating experience. So anybody out there in the over 50 club that's going hard or trying to,
I
props to you.
Someone in the day class today talking to me about it. Yesterday I saw him as well at an open mat, and he's just feeling a little run down. He's just feeling it, but he doesn't want to fall behind. What I told him is it worked for me, and it's kind of naturally it plays into my style of jiu-jitsu, which is a little bit more flowy, I guess, than like a more of a like grinder kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least at moments, right? Or at least I can tap into that, right?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But with him, I told him that, still show up, but go into it knowing that you're not going to put a ton of intensity. Work your defense. Don't, like, when he's a lower belt, so he's white belt. But when he goes to roll with like a purple belt or a brown or black or something, he's always on the defense for the most part, right? Well, roll with some white belts and work your defense and not being like kind of like you're rolling with a small person. Get submitted, get all that kind of stuff, and be more methodical without exerting a ton of intensity. You can still have competitive roles without exerting a ton of intensity.
Yeah, you can, in theory.
But it's
hard.
And I said, I was like, I got to take this medicine too. But it's all up here, and you're going to struggle to do it because he's a competitive guy. He got that dog in him.
That's going to be tough.
It's going to be super tough. But it's something to practice at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's great advice. I don't know if I could follow it myself.
It's exactly, and that's
go into there with that intention.
Well, it's the same
all
as
of a sudden, you're like,
let's say good nutrition. It's like eat real food, make your food. Well, that's hard. Good advice, but
it shouldn't be, but it is
in
this day and age.
Right.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
I have a question, Chris, with regards to like that whole training thing. Well, two questions. One is if a person who's in their 30s or 40s like decided to do like a week where they're just like working out every day, could it take a week to recover from that if you really wore yourself down? To
fully recover? Yeah. Okay. Matter of fact, you can get into overtraining syndromes that can take months to recover from.
Okay.
And, but that's severe. Okay. But overtraining syndrome is a real thing. There's sympathetic dominance. I think we did a podcast on this.
We've talked about it before, for sure.
Where, the sympathetic dominant overtraining syndrome is where, you'll have a higher resting heart rate. You'll be that tired but wired feeling where you can't go to sleep. You're in the stress response, right? If you keep pushing through that, then you get into this thing called the parasympathetic dominant one, where you basically burned yourself out, in layman's terms, burn yourself out so bad. I've heard people take it to a year to recover their nervous system, recover from something like that. That's severe. That's very rare. It's severe.
Yeah. And there's probably other things at play besides just their workout schedules.
Always. That's why our model for this podcast is using that whole episode about the stress cup as a kind of a center for, everything we do, exactly.
A holistic look at
to kind of look at all parts of it. Yeah, but it can. Okay. You can get into trouble, and I'm worried about that myself because I'm trying to give good advice to people, but I'm a dummy.
Yeah. You what you call caveman.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then I know, yes, we have done that episode on the stress cup and our allostatic load. And I know we talk about sleep and nutrition and whatnot, but is there any way to, as you get older, try to reclaim some of that, energy, that ability to handle more workouts and do you know what I'm saying? Like, without having to constantly be in like, okay, I have to take this many days off to like,
anabolic steroids.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
Like I try to push myself. I'm like, let me try doing like, and I did that for 1 week, and I swear it like for the following week I was like dead.
I'm obviously saying that in jest. Please don't do that. Yeah. But that's why people end up doing that kind of stuff.
Jake is so close to just getting on the phone with Mexico.
Well, a lot of people think, a lot of athletes, people think athletes are doing it for their performance advantage, which certainly can be true. But it's the recovery thing that is the key point. There's people beating the crap. Yeah.
That's why the overtraining thing is like a way to say it, but in reality,
under recovery.
It's an under recovery issue.
That's exactly right. And I like to say under recovery too.
Yeah.
I know I'm just kind of joking a little bit, but that's the frustration though, right? And that's when you're used to being able, when I was in my 30s, to train 6-7 days a week, do whatever I want.
Yeah.
To now like having to, now you have to make compromises and stuff. For people that are wired like us, it pisses us off, right? And it sounds like a bunch of excuses, and I hear myself and I feel like you're just, it sounds like it too. And you get into this kind of funk.
Internal voice.
Yeah, you get into this funk because I used to be that guy, like, stop making freaking excuses.
You were 45 when you started?
When I started as a white belt,
White belt,
yeah, I was 45. Yeah. So anyway.
That internal voice can...
Why mine is a bastard too.
Yeah, it can be beneficial, but it can turn into a negative for sure.
Yeah, just taking a step.
The
does
inner
mitochondrial support help with that?
That's
because the ATP.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So I'm doing everything possible. Yeah. Like for me, I'm doing the mitochondrial support. the Glynac with it to increase my glutathione production. The antioxidants would directly impacts mitochondrial health too. Carrie is trying me on a bunch of different concoctions. That, I mean, she's a wizard with it. So yeah, anything that I can do, we are. But it's just part of life, man. You just have to come to terms. I haven't yet with figuring out what you really can do, and it's healthy for you because burning that candle too hard. Yeah. As much fun as it is, it's hard to say, "Oh gosh, I'm not going to train tonight," and then you feel like So anyway, enough of woe is me. I just say, but it's an interesting thing to talk because I'm sure there's other people out there that are kind of
for sure.
Well, it's hard. It
dealing
is hard
with
to
that
deal
kind of
with
stuff.
that. I mean, I'm not your age. Not that you're. Well, I'm just.
No. But come on.
Bag of bones.
I can feel that. I feel the effects of it. I mean, even in the last 5 years, I can feel the effects of when I started jiu-jitsu to now. And I used to be able to, lift, probably 5, 6, 7 days a week or whatever and be fine and recover. And, and now you're it's just, I don't know. You just want to go back in time because you're this is annoying and terrible. And you want to feel, and sometimes you want to push yourself like I did. I was I'm going to try and see if I can do it again. No, I can't.
Where are you? I mean, I know you usually don't ask women age. Where are you creeping up to right now?
I'll be 38 in September.
Yeah. So the wheels, I noticed just so you know, for me, the biggest athletic performance drop off and recovery drop off was 45. Right when I started.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think you could, if you weren't doing jiu-jitsu, you could maintain a 4-5 day a week workout schedule?
Yep.
It's
because then I would have a program that I'd be I know exactly how to dial my intensity.
The activity that we're doing of jiu-jitsu.
I agree with that.
For sure.
I could lift
Oh yeah. So I could do a strength and conditioning program 4 to 5 days a week and program it no problem and be fine.
It's just
I agree.
Naturally.
When you get into when I start rolling and you get into that thing going, I could go in there without the intent of having I'm going to kind of chill today and then have a super hard, just because that's the way it was.
One hard round
and then, hey, do you want to roll? Yeah, I always want to roll. You know what I mean?
10 minutes of situational.
Is it kind of because, does it have the same effects as a HIIT workout in a way?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably.
Even worse though, because it's prolonged.
Because it's not 30 seconds.
No, you're pushing the 6 minute rounds in our case. And you're not going balls to the wall, but there's some rounds that are that we've all had them.
Yeah, Justin and I just did I think 11-minute round. And
he's a spry guy too.
Yeah, he's my same size as me and you, and he because I'm doing tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
So I signed up for Nogi.
You're an animal. Why? I'm not staying for that, by the way.
No, well, it's not going to be that late.
Pretty early.
Oh, is it?
Because advanced, they'll go.
Oh, okay.
So it'll.
Okay.
But thank you for saying that.
It's funny. It was dude, I have the early bird at 4:30. Dude, I can't stay for.
No,
Nogi.
they'll do because when
joking.
white belts and blue belts are going, they start advanced Nogi.
We'll give you a scone if you stay.
Oh, we're going.
Yeah,
anyway.
Over under on 6 scones. I'm over,
dude. Oh,
but
would die. Yeah.
So we did a long one there, and man, it's because he's helping me, and he knew we had to have a competition style pace,
especially if you're going no-gi with him. He's slick.
And we start standing and everything. So it's interesting because probably the first 2 minutes. Neither one of us got each other to the ground, but there was an intentional pace of that. We're hand fighting a lot. We're messing with each other's postures, playing with the feet, as in foot sweeps and stuff, single legs. And because I think he grabbed a single on me 3 different times, and I had to sprawl out of it.
Totally.
It's a stand up is a different
dude.
Kind of grappling cardio.
It is.
We both kind of were Oh, we might have to go to the ground soon.
It's no joke, right? For sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to you competing. I also, before we forget, say congratulations to everyone that competed this last weekend at Grappling Industries. We had a good showing. I always like seeing some of the people competing, maybe the first couple competitions, and really getting out there.
Yeah. It is cool to see that, and a lot of growth in some people. We had a couple people that had like a tough first match, but then came back and really came alive.
Yeah, one of my fellow over 50ers in the gym did a fantastic job
against a seasoned competitor too.
Really, really proud of him.
Yep, Carl, shout out.
Yeah, he did great. But anyway, it was really cool, and I'm looking forward to this weekend too. Sorry for hijacking. I know we weren't even going to talk about this stuff.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know. I find it fascinating and relevant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and kind of talking about this stuff, we have someone that asked a question about weight cutting, because they are going to be doing a competition here in a month.
In a month, okay.
Or 3 weeks, right? July 2nd.
That's coming up.
It's probably about
three weeks or so.
Yeah.
So it's female.
Yep.
And they have no one in their division. They have no one a weight class up, which they were willing to do. But they're
willing to do a weight class up, but there's no one there.
There's no one there.
Okay, so they want some rounds.
Yeah. But there's 4 people in a division below.
Mm-hmm.
Now, their walk-around weight, they are pretty light for that division. So they only have 5 pounds to cut to go down.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. We're 3 weeks out. It is a female, not a male.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we help them out a little bit? Because they're a little bit nervous. They are going to go to their mom's house for the weekend next weekend. So it might be some more delicious foods potentially for a weekend.
Yeah, that's what's going to get people.
Yeah. But I wanted to say, what should she be looking out for to do for those 5 pounds? And then number 2, I don't know the personal information, but because females, they'll run into like a PMS or something like that they are going to retain weight. So if that happens to line up for someone.
So PMS means premenstrual syndrome.
Oh.
You're talking about their menstrual cycle?
Yes.
Okay.
Mense.
Yeah, that's completely different.
Yeah, I was testing you.
Okay.
And you passed.
Thank you.
Very good.
I don't have to turn in my medical license now.
PMS. I thought PMS was that time of the month.
No,
it's a syndrome that it's a clinical syndrome people have at the time of their menses.
Yeah, it's usually like 3 to 5 days before.
So why do people say, "Oh, you're PMSing"?
Because the stereotype is they're in bad moods, they're in pain, tired, so they're having symptoms associated with their menses called PMS.
Can people comment and let me know if I'm the only idiot that thought that PMS meant that time of the month?
No, it does not.
Make a fake account if you're embarrassed.
And it's it's typically before it actually starts. That's why it's called pre-menstrual syndrome.
Ain't that a son of a bitch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My mom's probably so embarrassed right now.
Yeah, she should be. Somewhere she failed.
Yeah. No. Okay, so if they happen to run into that time of the month during this 3 week, let's say, weight cut, or it's coming up to a tournament, that's going to make things harder.
Yeah. It's not 5 pounds though isn't as bad.
Right. We're not talking about a huge cut. That's it. We've talked about that on other podcasts.
Right.
So this is a little bit lighter cut, but I will also say, this particular person is smaller. They're not overweight. They're pretty thin already. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. So it's going to pretty much come from, the bulk weight of food and also, hydration, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll try to minimize as much of the when is the weigh-in? It's an
IBJJF.
Okay. That makes it tougher.
So they weigh, for people that don't know, at IBJJF tournaments, you weigh in 15 to 20 minutes before you walk onto the mat.
Do you remember what we did with you?
Yeah.
I would do something very similar.
Okay.
For them, as far as like the 2 days before, completely eliminate fiber, eat a bunch of processed, easily digestible stuff. Watch your salt intake.
Okay, so, and Liv, can we put a little tag here in the video?
Because we did a whole We did a whole podcast
where
about
we
it.
talk about it to the episode for lead up to Master Worlds. We talk about how
You
I
can
cut
get
it.
2 to 3 pounds off.
Yeah.
Typically from just the bulk weight of fibrous foods out.
Which is what
clearing
we
it out.
saw is in that.
And you
last-
actually came in under.
Yeah, I was 173.
So
and
why don't talk through your week before, since this person is already not, they're pretty lean already. You were not overweight either at the time.
Right.
So kind of talk through what you did.
So it was started the week of, and I would say about 7 days out, I started limiting meat intake. So I wasn't taking in as much meat about 7 days out. Not that I wasn't eating any, but I was just taking a little bit less. And then I made sure my nutrient timing was quality. So if I took in any sugar, if I took in starchy carbs, I made sure it was after training.
That's right.
And I was actually starting that a little bit before, but I made sure I was diligent 7 days out.
Because glycogen loss can pull a lot of water weight with it.
And I noticed, and we actually have a dirty blue belt that has been doing the nutrient timing thing for a couple months now.
What? A dirty blue belt?
Yeah. Well, he's dirty himself, but he is a blue belt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I've called ice on him a couple times, but
Oh, my God.
he knows somebody. He hasn't been removed. He knows Putin or something. I don't know.
Oh, my. Oh, I know who you're talking
maybe
about.
Zelensky.
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
So
You're horrible, Bill.
he's been doing the nutrient timing pretty strict, and just naturally he's still eating delicious foods, but he's down a lot of weight.
Yeah, because he's shifting carbohydrates to after his to refill muscle glycogen.
And naturally,
Yep.
now he's doing it over a long term.
Sure.
And he's been diligent, so it's like 15 pounds or something.
So let's stop right there. So that's the first thing. If they're not doing that already,
Yep.
that might be a good thing to do. To try to limit. Now you need full muscle glycogen. You don't want to deplete carbohydrates. You need to fill that stuff up, but you don't want extra that you don't need before there's nowhere to go, right? So like you said, so after your training session, that's when you do your protein and starch type of thing.
Yeah, and I wasn't like eating like a gerbil. I was still eating full
for sure.
Full meals especially for the recovery piece.
So this is let's just say about 2 weeks before.
Yeah. And I naturally lost a couple pounds just from that.
Right.
Just training and eating at a certain time, or certain foods at a certain time. I still, in the mornings, I was having, I'd have a little bit of fruit, just not too much, but more the watery stuff, your melons, watermelon, cantaloupe, pineapple. I was doing that in the morning, just to give me a little bit of energy, I guess. It honestly, it made me sane.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then as we got closer, that's when I kind of hit a little bit of a wall where I had a goal of 176. And I just happened to come into usually I walk around actually in the high 70s, so it wasn't really an issue. But maybe because the flight down to Vegas, I was retaining, who knows? I just came in a little heavy. So I happen to be right about that. So at this point, I'm 179, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I was a little concerned. And you're like, just stay.
Yeah, I got the text.
Yeah. You're like, just stay on it.
Yep.
And then start our protocol with processed foods,
which sounds terrible.
Yes.
Okay, there's a method to that madness. So you want to then about 2 to 3 days before you want to start limiting any fiber in your diet. Really try to cut out. I know it's like the opposite of what people tell you, because this isn't good nutrition. I'm talking about weight cutting.
Right.
Okay. What was your go-to?
So I would have like a Nutrageous Reese's Pieces candy bar.
Oh my God. Okay. I know. I shouldn't have asked. Go ahead. I shouldn't have asked.
And then I would do Wonder Bread.
Yep.
With peanut butter.
And like honey.
And then I would do drizzle some honey on it.
Yep.
And then that actually knocked a couple more pounds off.
Yeah. Usually will.
Yeah. And then I was at about 77, but it was a little, they didn't have the test weight scale up. So I was a little concerned that I was like, oh geez, like this is interesting. Like I had to use the hotel scale and it was like flimsy and oh my gosh. And when I got on that one, it actually went up a pound. I was like, holy shit. So I actually had a Shake Shack burger. Just I didn't eat the meat, so I ate the juicy buns and like the sauce in there. Not the whole thing. I just had like half. But I figured I was like, oh, it's processed.
It sure is.
And then I at this point I was having very little melon fruit, only watermelon.
When did you swish the Coke?
So that was the last day. So the day before, I felt I was still at that 77, and you had told me there is a way to kind of trigger the body, and I'm sure you'll explain in a second what it's actually doing. But I felt like I needed like another pound. I just, for security's sake, because I didn't want to be the guy that's outside at 112 degrees with my gi on running.
Like you saw.
We saw multiple people.
Which is not good for right before competition.
Guys with a hoodie, sweatshirt, zip tight, with their gi over the sweatshirt, sweatpants over their gi pants, walking or jogging in 112 degrees.
Horrible.
And then one guy, he had like one of the sauna sweatsuits.
Yep.
This guy was walking around and, I mean, it looked like he was in the shower.
He asked us for a sip of water.
He just because I had a water bottle and we're just walking around and he's like, "Can I just?" He spoke no English, just Brazilian guy, and I was like, "Please, dude, take the whole thing if you want."
Yeah.
And he just sat there and poured it on his head and took a couple sips.
Guy.
Oh, he's struggling.
Did we have you do the bath? Is that what we had you do?
Yes, but I don't. Did I do the bath?
I don't think
I did really hot showers.
It's fine.
Yeah.
to get you sweating.
Yeah. Because I wasn't sweating a whole lot, and obviously, all this processed food runs through you.
Yep, that's the whole idea.
Right, and that was something that like I was noticing when I'd have to go to the bathroom. There wasn't a lot there,
Right.
but it was like there was a little bit, but I had to go multiple times in a day.
That's right.
And so then we're a day before. I'm still floating around that 77. I've lost like 0.5 pounds, a little concerned. So then I do the Coca-Cola swishing. So what I would do is I would have a 20-ounce Coke. I would put it, I would take a drink, but I didn't swallow it. And I would swish it around, swish, 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 and then spit out. And I did that for probably... I had a 20-ounce earlier in the day, and then I continued the Wonder Bread, peanut butter, honey, and then I drank another 20-ounce, but spit out the whole thing, but just swished. And then day of the tournament. So now I sleep. The next day, I wake up. They have the weigh-in scale available. I go in with my gi, and I'm 173 pounds.
Yeah, you went way under.
That last night, I literally dropped multiple pounds.
And that's what had happened.
And I have a feeling that that's not, I don't think that was just the Coke doing it. It's just I was retaining a little bit. And then overnight, my body was burning.
Yeah.
And it just...
The swishing the Coke is just to fool your body into seeing
what is that?
Yeah, but that's not really a big weight loss thing. That's more for, especially right before you go compete, to swish that around. I'm glad you did an experiment. It tricks your body saying, hey, we're going to get some energy here. So we have a governor in place on what marathon runners call the wall when they run into the wall.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, you can swish sugar around in your mouth, even if you don't drink it. and that little governor on the engine, so to speak, is lifted up because the body's like, okay, we're going to be okay.
Why wouldn't you drink it?
What's that?
Why wouldn't you drink it?
Well, sugar takes water with it. As far as when you load, like when your liver fills up with glycogen, it pulls water with it. When people go on like a ketogenic diet or something like very, very low carb, the first week they're like, oh, I lost 10 pounds. It's like, that ain't fat, dude. That's water coming out as the glycogen's being depleted because it's associated molecularly with the glycogen.
Gotcha.
So you get a water loss with that. You'll get a natural, what you did, more or less getting rid of the fiber. What I had you do is drink a lot of water, if you remember that.
Yes, and it was only in the last day. I think it was the last day I limited water intake.
The last day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day before.
But previously.
No, I just didn't have element.
Right.
So that's where I get a lot of my salt or sodium.
Yeah, but the couple days before that, you had a lot of water without electrolytes.
Yeah, I was chugging water.
That is the key. And so then your body is like, okay, we're getting hydrated. It will continue to diurese, which means get rid of water.
Yeah.
And that last bit.
And that's through both ends, essentially, a little bit.
Totally.
It's not that you like Montezuma's revenge.
Yeah.
But you'll notice that when you go to the bathroom, it is more watery.
Yeah. And so that's what got you through that's when you came in under, actually, last night. If you were to need to sweat some out,
Okay, so that's another thing that the day before, I didn't do jiu-jitsu. I just did a lightweight kettlebell workout, 35-pound kettlebell, and just got enough that I broke a sweat.
That's fine.
That was the day before. Once again, just in like burpees, like just kind of low impact stuff, just to get a sweat. And I think I did that 2 days in a row.
I think a hot bath is the way to go with your head
Epsom salt
out.
or just
That doesn't matter.
okay.
And then you can kind of get out, dry yourself off, get back in, right. So then you're losing water through that type of sweating. It's a lot less impactful, it seems, to performance than like getting in a sauna.
This was on Daisy Fresh. Oh, did you see that episode?
No.
With Mikey?
So they had Mikey Musumeci when he joined their team for maybe the last Worlds he did. And they had him, instead of going in the sauna, they had him in the bathtub. They had it real hot, like steamy and all that.
Yeah.
Then they pulled him out, and then they actually wrapped him in towels, and he just laid on the bed.
Yep.
And then they unwrapped him and used like a credit card
or key card
to wick all the sweat off him.
Yeah.
And then he started sweating again.
Of course.
And then they wicked him again, and then he went back in.
Yep.
Then he came out and they wicked him again.
Yep.
So that's essentially what.
Yeah, but what it seems to show is, and
he was cutting a dramatic amount of weight.
Yeah, it's a lot, and not that I recommend that at all. But it seems there's a less impact on performance of the bathtub version versus like the sauna, where you're going full head in, everything getting
high impact. Yeah.
Right. It seems to be you have less impact on your performance using that method. And all you're doing, sweating is a cooling mechanism. And if you're pulling the sweat off your body, it's going to sweat more because it's trying to release heat through the moisture in your skin that's now on your skin. Okay. So I guess to recap, 5 pounds shouldn't be a huge deal. Yeah. Start to 2 weeks before, if you're not doing it already, really start to do some meal timing with carbohydrate. See if you lean up a little more. Because you're doing more low carb, except for after training, right? And you need to do that after training. You have to replete your muscle glycogen, or you're going to run into the wall. Okay. And especially in a grappling, but you don't want to go in there not loaded up. Couple, 3 or 4 days before, start drinking a little more water, and then especially the last couple days before, drink a lot of water. Not electrolyte. You don't want to limit your salt intake more than anything. And at that same time, you're switching over to that kind of crap diet of Wonder Bread, peanut butter or whatever, honey, to give yourself you don't want to deplete yourself of energy. Yeah. But the whole idea behind that again is fiber weighs a lot in the gut, right? And if you get all that stuff out, that's 2 to 3 pounds usually for a lot of people.
Right. And that's what I saw is a
and
couple
then-
pound drop. From
Right.
that.
And then that last day, you kind of start restricting water a little bit. You don't have to do it complete. Don't let your mouth get dry and all
And
that.
I overdid that.
I'm sure you did.
Where I think during the whole day I drank 12 ounces.
Yeah.
I stretched one water bottle out the whole day, and
Yes.
I don't think I necessarily needed to do
No,
that.
you didn't need to do that. Absolutely. And you saw how under you came in.
Yeah.
You came in quite a bit under.
Yeah, the body really adjusted that last day.
Yeah, the last day it will do that. That should be very doable.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Okay.
and if the person needs that is this someone local or someone? Okay. Yeah. If they need some specifics, of course we'll be available to help.
And I told them like just get a message and like just keep us in the loop as you go, and that's not much.
No, it's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just don't want someone, especially these drastic weight cuts, especially for women. It seems to mess them up long term.
Sure.
Repeatedly doing that.
Yeah.
I think for everyone it's terrible for you, but
especially them, especially young females.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Mess with the endocrine system.
Yeah. Okay. Off topic, but on jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know your opinion. Someone else actually brought this question up. That we got a question in from someone, a listener, and they wanted to know. So their schedules changed. They've moved, not completely out of the area where they currently are, but they split time between a couple gyms.
Okay,
and they are technically under. They've been belted by this one gym, which is Gym A. Well,
are they relatively new in their journey?
They're a blue belt.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, they have moved. They got a new job, and just their life is a little bit closer to Gym B, which is where they cross train at quite a bit.
And they're thinking about joining Gym B
as
officially.
Kind of making that their home gym.
I see.
Which would mean they have to let that professor know that I want to formally join and be under you and get my promotions through you, under Gym B.
They should talk to Gym A first.
This is what I'm wondering is I want your opinion on how would you address that with Gym A? Gym B is easy, but Gym A,
well,
because he wants to still train there at times. He wants to have a good relationship.
Absolutely. And that's important. Going in being just completely transparent.
And Gym A is known as like being a pretty cool gym.
Cool. Yeah. And it's not going to be a problem. I think the problem comes in when people get, it comes across as being sneaky or like you didn't really tell anybody. And then all of a sudden you're over here and then people are like, well, what did I do wrong over here in Gym A?
Yeah. Our mind kind of goes.
Well, as a professor running a gym, you want to provide good training and make, and give your students what they need. Right. And then all of a sudden, if you see people leaving your gym, sometimes it's not rational. You're like, oh, okay, what are we doing?
For sure.
And so I would just say, hey, just be very straightforward. Say, this is a situation I'm in. Mm-hmm. This is where I'm at due to life circumstances and all this. This is what I'd like to do, but I wanted to talk to you first about it because I want to make sure, because I want to stay on good terms here. Yeah. I still want to train here at time to time, but and just be straight. And the person's going to react how they're going to react. Usually a reasonable person, like, I completely understand. I support you 100%.
Yeah.
Right. But if it was me as that professor, I'd want to make sure, okay, well, for my own sake, I'd be like, okay, why is this person leaving? Because if they just left, and all of a sudden you hear later that they've joined this other gym, of course, of course. I think just being very transparent and honest about it, and I think that'd be fine. I think we all are, worried about that because we don't want to upset anybody or.
Especially if you have a good relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to feel like you're betraying someone or.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think also doing it sooner than later.
Absolutely.
And you just let them know, hey, life has just pulled me into this area, this town or whatever. and that's, you know, it makes it more convenient, like to actually train as much as I want to train, because they want to train a lot, let's say.
Absolutely.
So it just makes it a lot easier, but I still want to like help you guys. I still want to come in. I still want to, you know, all that kind of stuff.
The fact that this person is asking this question is good.
Yeah.
Because they care.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that alone, as opposed to like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that just shows they care.
And you tell them, like, you know, you want to just be upfront about, like, you can tell them that I just want to be upfront about, I don't want to just be the person that just disappears.
Yeah.
Because I value.
This is why.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with the way
Yeah.
we run the gym here. This is why I want to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a purely a convenience thing.
And you can't control someone else's reaction to that. As long as you do that, in my mind, and say, and be very upfront with most reasonable people will support you 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they are unreasonable in their response, it's not on you.
No.
Technically, you are still a customer.
You are a customer.
You're a paying customer, and you're addressing it really nicely, you know, correctly.
But, you know, give them that feedback too, that, like, because I'd want to know what could we have done something better here,
right,
to make your, you know,
ensuring that, like, it's purely a convenience kind of thing, or
whereas because
life.
of where my life is moving. Yeah. And, you know, we see that all the time at our gym too.
Oh, for
People
sure.
will all of a sudden get another job, or, you know, it's just like, it sucks because they're your training partners, and you don't, but
it happens at all levels, whether you have a black belt that moves away or you get a white belt, but in between.
Yeah. And, you know, it's always good, especially if you keep those good relationships there. I mean, it just helps everyone, because, I mean, they'll come back and they'll feel good about training there still. And
one of the things Olivia and I like about going to tournaments is, you know, because I'm a little bit of a, like, everyone knows where my home gym is. Everyone knows where I belong. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little bit of a nomad, as in, like, I drop in a lot of places.
I wouldn't call you a nomad.
Yeah, whatever you call that. I don't know what that term would be.
Lady of the night.
Oh.
A prostitute.
Set me up. You set me up.
I did.
You dirty hooker.
I was waiting to see. No, you are. Let's be clear about that.
Lady
I'm
of the
clean,
night.
my friend.
No, you're not.
In that respect.
I've seen that butt.
Well, my personal hygiene aside.
Chris has never strayed, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's true. He hasn't. So when we go to tournaments, we know so many faces, so many people, right? Just I've dropped in places. So it's nice to maintain good relationships in the greater community.
Absolutely.
Because one, you just never know when you want to cross train or whatever, and someone else can help you out. Like, I brought this up before, but we had a time where we had a student that his gi was too short in the sleeves, and he didn't get called on it until he's walking onto the mat.
I was there.
Yeah.
And it was like this awkward, like, this is when we're going to address it. You know, the ref did it as he's calling him onto the mat. Well, because we had...
It was egregious.
It was egregious.
It should have been caught in the before.
You should have been able to walk in the building.
I mean, let's say...
Barely past his elbows. It was like the old school...
In capri pants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was brutal.
was rough. So anyway...
But we knew a fellow gym...
Yeah.
There was a fellow brown belt.
That's right.
From a friendly gym in Seattle. And... just yelled at him real quick because he had a black gi. Our guy had a black gi, and I knew he had a black top. He was done competing, and so and I knew he's a taller guy. I was like, "You got your gi?" And he's eating like an acai bowl.
Yeah.
Just I was like,
I know,
"Sure."
he's just lounging there.
He's in a lounge chair, and he just throws it.
Yeah.
Boom. Our guy was able to actually get his money's worth and compete
That's right.
because there's good relationships within the community.
That's right.
So you never know when you might need some.
No, it's exactly right. But it always just be very straightforward.
Yeah.
And don't. Some people can be like nervous about it enough where it actually shoots them in the foot, and they don't
Yeah.
address it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, what's going on here? And then you get confronted, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Well, and I think realizing too, it's like going and talking to them about this. It's like you're not doing anything wrong.
No, at all.
You have nothing to be like worried about with talking to them about it because you're literally not doing anything.
Yeah, you can put that in your head.
Life change, things happen.
We can build it up a lot more than it is.
Like where you feel.
Let me use an analogy in medicine. You can have Dr. A and Dr. B. Both have excellent credentials. Both are really good people and are really good with patients. There are some people where personality-wise, whatever, feel more comfortable with one versus the other. It has nothing to do with a shortcoming of the other person.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there's that too. And so that happens all the time in medicine where they find like, oh, I feel like it's just like, who knows who your friends are, right? There's some great people that you just don't vibe with.
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever.
Totally.
Right. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's don't make it as big of a deal in your head than it's gonna be easier than you think about.
Well, and the fact that he's worried about it is a good sign that he's a good person.
Yeah. So. I mean, on the outside for sure, he's a good person. So we won't talk too much about it, but we had Worlds a week or so ago.
Yep.
And I just want to touch on a couple things.
Okay.
One, did you watch some of the matches?
I did. Remember, I watched the select few of the finals. Yeah. And I watched all the men's semifinals. And I also, upon request recently, I watched the women's absolute.
Oh, okay. So a couple, just for people that are like, they didn't get to catch them. I would recommend watching all of Jansen Gomez.
Oh man,
his matches. Tynan Dalpra, they're in the same division, so they meet in the finals.
It was great.
Incredible energy. But if you're looking to just watch exciting, fun matches, you don't want to watch everything. Those are a couple great ones to start with. There was some controversy with Margot Ciccarelli and
Anna
Rodriguez. That's a good one to watch to help understand rules. A lot of controversy in that one. But there's a lot of scenarios that ended up happening within it that make it so you understand out of bounds rules. Why would someone that's in a full submission get let out of the submission and then they get 2 points, but they don't reset them? There's a lot going into that. Some of the lighter weights were quite good. You have Taliesin Suarez. He was touted to win the whole thing, but he didn't. So spoiler alert.
The light feather finals was excellent too.
Who was that? Light feather.
It was dang it. Now I knew you were going to ask me.
Hello. I'm trying to think of light feather.
He was the previous
Jonathan Alves. No, that's light, I think.
No, it wasn't Jonathan Alves. Oh, I'm gonna drive me crazy.
But light feather. A lot of if you watch on Flow, you can watch the semifinals and finals.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's like a nice thing to do. Yeah. Is just watch those because it's not too many matches, and they have commentary for all of them, which is nice. Victor Hugo had a really good run.
Yes, he did.
Really nice knee bar in the finals. Watching Kainan Duarte, which was a huge favorite. He actually didn't win his division or absolute, so that was pretty interesting. And I know you wanted to touch on there was a finals absolute, or was it one of the division finals
for
the ladies? Gabrielle Pisagna.
Yeah, so that was absolute.
So
one of our professors asked me to comment. Professor Andrea, who was a competitor herself, previous Pan champions.
And actually, I believe, grew up with one of the competitors. So there was Gabrielle Pisagna against Ana Carolina Vieira. Right?
Yeah. Who's Rodolfo's sister.
Rodolfo Vieira, in the UFC now.
Right. So like she wanted me to watch it from a medical perspective.
Okay. Do you want to explain like what happened?
Well, at the end, Gabrielle had her basically face down with, if I remember right, she had grapevines in, and kind of the worst choking position you can be when you're on someone's back, having your face down on top of them.
A zipper choke or just a basic collar choke. So she had the collar.
But she had the weight of her body.
Yes.
She had Anna's head sideways, kind of pinned to the ground.
Yeah.
And the controversy was, and Adolfo, being a sister, of course, he's protective of his sister, and I would be too, was concerned that the ref didn't catch. She was unconscious for too long before the ref caught it.
Okay.
We're talking, I would have to go back and look at the seconds. It's a tough position, and you really, I'm not a ref. I can only imagine how difficult that is. Yeah. But when someone's down like that, and it's going to be hard for you to see, because if they're in different positions, you can see like a limb go limp or something. Sure. When they're fully pancaked down like that, you could miss when actually, if they do, you'd have to kind of keep checking, right? But the concern was that she was had the choke was on too long, and she was unconscious before the ref actually stopped it. Probably, I don't know how many seconds, probably 10 or so.
I think you can. From watching it, I feel like she wasn't 100% grapevined, but she did have the hooks in, and then she was hipping in very aggressively.
Yeah, like I said, I couldn't remember that.
Which caused Anna's legs, if these are her legs bending like this, they were essentially like you're skydiving. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's that horrible position where the hips are coming into your spine and then you're being choked. But Gabriella's chest is very low.
That's
so
right.
You can't really see the person being choked's face.
No, you couldn't.
And Anna had so Gabriella gets the choke, as in she sinks it in, and it's almost like a side. She's off to the side of Anna. Anna then scissors her legs, almost like she's coming up to her knees, and at that point, Gabriella squares back up with her chest, the back connection, hips in, which then at this moment you see Anna's legs. So she's being choked this whole time.
Right.
In this moment, you see Anna's built up a little bit, and Gabriella starts pressuring in with her hips, and I feel you can see when Anna goes out. From a camera perspective, from our outside perspective.
And how many seconds do you think after that, if you had to estimate before they called it?
Off the top of my head, I feel like it was only like 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that long. I was being generous
with it either.
I didn't think it was very egregious.
Yeah, I didn't either. But
although, do I think the ref could have had maybe a little bit more attentiveness to that? Maybe, but when I think of it, I think he was trying to get a view of her face because she did have an arm, the side that the ref was on, I believe it was her right arm, was in a defensive position. Right. And it kind of got held up to where, how sometimes our arms get pinned in a way that it looks like we have tension in it.
Totally.
Rather than a limpness.
Exactly.
There was a moment there that I think was a second, maybe 2 seconds, where it was like that before it flops.
And oh, by the way, this is the absolute world championships. And so the calling in early when someone didn't tap.
Very big, especially with.
Right. So, that's tough, right? And it didn't seem egregious to me either. I can understand Adolfo's, it's just, if it was my sister, I'd,
For sure.
God, it's your family, right?
And to add to it, Anna was actually remained unconscious after Gabriella let go.
Yeah.
I would say kind of an unusual amount of time.
It seemed like a long amount of time.
Yeah, she did not wake up right away.
Well, and that was and that adds to the concern, right? That just adds to the whole thing. And then you got to question, okay, what's going on there?
Because she did go to they actually sent her to the hospital.
They should have.
Yeah,
they should have.
And you could visibly see when a lot of time, if people haven't been choked out or you haven't been around someone that's been choked out, typically that they're unconscious. They come to. There's a little bit of bewilderment for couple seconds, and then you're back. Like it's
Yeah.
almost like nothing happened. But there are some times when you see someone, and this was one of those times, where you could see she was visibly not right.
Right.
There was a bewilderment that lasted.
And that would absolutely, she should have getting checked out.
Yeah.
That was concerning to me too. Is that's what I was going to say. The amount of time that she appeared to be out, but it's hard to do a cause and effect with that. 5 or 6 seconds of extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. I'm wondering if there's something else going on. Quite frankly, her neck was not in a good position either. It was kind of completely sideways there with a lot of pressure on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know the full. I would have to, see her evaluation at the hospital and actually ask her some questions. But I understand reactions from brother and from
even
other people.
Yeah, just people watching in general.
But man, that's, trying to be objective, and it's, trying to take emotion out of it, which is hard. It didn't seem egregious. It's world championship finals. And, can you imagine if she was like, no, I was going to get out of that. And the ref, basically called it.
Yeah. And then
prematurely.
What the heck? Yeah.
So that's a tough call.
I am no apologist for IBJJF refs, which we're going to talk about in a second. But so I'll be the first one to call them out on being bad or something like that. And this, from just that perspective, not the medical side, didn't seem all that bad.
Yeah.
Maybe being more attentive of full body awareness rather than zeroing in on trying to look at her face or her arm or something like that, like noticing that she had tension in her what position would that be, like if her face is low and her hips are kind of high and she has tension on her knees, and then it's almost like a downward dog on your knees, and then your hips then kind of collapse. That's you could see the tension where she has tension from her hips and her glutes into the mat through her knees, and then they just kind of go.
Yeah, but I've been in turtle before. Someone takes her back and you can flatten someone easily with
100%.
like a grapevine type of thing.
Yeah. And yeah, totally. And you can appear like you're getting skydived.
Totally.
In that position, when I say skydived, is literally like when someone's skydiving.
Or is the hips collapsing because she's unconscious, right? And
right.
So that's a tough one, man.
Very tough.
So, but I would still be concerned for, it's like make sure that, hey, that you were out for a long time. Because I remember as a blue belt, I was choked unconscious at a tournament, baseball bat choke. You probably remember that one.
I was not there yet, but
okay.
I do think about it often.
I'm sure you do. But I think I was told I was out for about 10 seconds. And then it took me a little bit to I went ahead and did my next match. But it took me a couple minutes to feel right again. I wasn't like, excuse me, sorry about it. So sometimes that can, brain's like, what the heck?
I've been unconscious fully once, and then I was basically unconscious a second time when I was Andrew Zuke once.
Oh, yeah.
And but the time I went completely out, I think it was enough time that as I came to, I didn't realize I went out. And then as I was standing up, I was kind of like tipsy, almost like falling over a little bit as I was trying to tie my belt, and I was so confused. And Josh Haggerty was like, you okay, dude? And then he's the one that told me I was out, and I just didn't believe him. And then I walked to the line because class was just ending, and it was by that time I felt better. So maybe 30 seconds to a minute or something like that. And then I felt fine after that. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
It definitely is. I mean, that's different than like getting rear naked choke or something like that, because you got your face plastered into the mat.
Did we talk about the Hodger comment about, he said that he feels like if you get choked unconscious, you're more susceptible to getting choked unconscious?
It's interesting.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah, I think so.
Carrie and I were talking about that this weekend. I don't know how it came up. We were talking about that because
I have a microphone in your bedroom.
Do you? Is that all you got? I'll tell you. Then you'd be
The
horrified.
sounds that come out of there. It's like I'm at
Sorry,
the zoo.
got the pollen going today. Sorry about that. But concussions for sure. There is no doubt you've had previous concussion, especially recent concussion.
Yeah.
You're going to go out easier.
Yeah.
With it sort of striking stuff like that. There's no doubt. We were trying to figure out a mechanism on how that might be. So in the carotids, there's what we call baroreceptors or pressure receptors called the carotid sinus. It's right here, right at the choking area of the neck. And Carrie was postulating maybe that sensitivity could be upregulated. Because really, a choke is basically just cutting off blood supply. Concussions, getting hit is a different thing. You're not cutting off blood to the brain.
And going unconscious, is that an emergency response by our body?
Yeah, you're cutting
down.
blood. Yeah, with concussion for sure.
Okay.
Okay, because it's a strike, right? It's the brain kind of getting
And it's
whipped back
trying to
and
protect
forth.
itself.
Yeah. It's a different mechanism. Choking is cutting off blood supply to the brain.
Okay.
Where, we've all experienced sometimes if we haven't had enough water and all of a sudden we come from a laying position to standing too quickly, that's a mild part of just the pressure. The blood pressure hasn't built up quick enough to perfuse the brain.
Okay.
And so you will absolutely go out very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, it takes a while. When I say a while, it takes a bit before you actually start having brain cells die, right? That's why if someone goes in, stops getting oxygen, or you can cut someone's blood supply off, they'll come back pretty quickly with no problems. Physiologically, I'd have to look into it. I don't know if anything's ever been studied on if the sensitivity of some of these things would allow that to happen easier.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Interesting.
It would make sense, though. If you are choked out repeatedly, the brain's like, well, something's going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe if it feels as, because again, that's a pressure receptor in the carotid artery.
Right.
I'm wondering if that gets upregulated somehow.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating. I have no idea.
There's probably no tests or studies.
I doubt someone's done the studies on that, except for people that are into weird.
That's true.
Kind of,
or like what we do with jiu-jitsu, but you'd have to be so diligent about testing that.
Yeah, and how would you, right? Because then you'd have to,
because some chokes are on, but you're not going out because something's slightly off.
And it would have to be reproduced in a lab, same location, same amount of pressure.
Yeah.
You'd have to be able to say, okay, are you going out quicker than, and you'd have to kind of replicate the choke. And every choke, I don't care how good you are, they're all slightly different in pressure.
Right.
Position's probably slightly off.
Would your nutrition have anything to do with going out? Like if you got higher blood sugar, or if you're...
I would say, certainly if you're hypovolemic and you don't have enough blood volume, like if you're dehydrated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same mechanism for what we call pre-syncope, which means before passing out. That's all that means. It's like when you stand up, there's a syndrome called orthostatic hypotension, meaning that when I go from a position change, those pressure sensors aren't, and I don't have enough volume in my blood to rapidly change and perfuse the brain to now its standing position, because we're now going from laying, you don't have to have gravity to pump against. Standing, the heart has to pump against gravity to perfuse the brain, right? And if you're low on volume, it's a lot easier to be so-called lightheaded from that. So I think volume status for sure, if I had to guess. Yeah.
Because there was a Pato, Diego Oliveira. He got a cool, it's like, I forgot, like Hercules showed it. It's like a bully choke or something. But you have an overhook, and you grab the lapel, the far side lapel, and then you grab the inside of your near side lapel, and then you're basically punching into the artery.
That's right.
And then pulling.
Yep.
And it's kind of this cheeky little thing. Now, he hit that, I think, at Pans. And the guy looked totally. Oliveira he was close guard, and he gets that grip, and it doesn't even look like he's putting a lot of tension into it.
Have to.
And the guy was actually sitting there, kind of like looking around, like assessing where they're at, and then out of nowhere, you see him go,
Yep.
and his head just falls, and the guy's out of nowhere.
Yep. There's a fight to win a couple years ago where the guy hit that teepee choke.
Josh Cisneros.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a purple belt.
Purple belt.
Yep.
And the guy was out on his knees.
Yep.
Very quickly.
Yeah. That makes me wonder if either of those scenarios is their competition. So the guy was probably cutting. Mm-hmm. So were they potentially dehydrated, which caused them to go out maybe even faster?
Maybe. I think it's the nature of that. That's a very direct pressure to the carotid artery. I mean, there's no, you look at a collar, right?
Yeah.
It's distributed along the entire neck. Mm-hmm. You're basically putting direct pressure of force. It's like wearing skis on snow versus
and you're still
snow
hitting
boots.
the far artery because you're pulling.
Yeah, and your counter pressure is basically
Yeah, and if he had his knuckle just on the right spot.
Yeah, it's a very direct compression, right? It's instead of spreading out the compression, it's a very
just
direct.
hit him out of nowhere.
It will real quick.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about a little bit about IBJJF, my bugaboo. But I'm going to save it for the next episode.
Yeah, let's save it for the next episode because I want to get into it.
I want to rant about it.
I love it.
And we can go over how the rev went when I competed in first tournament at black belt. So
we're going to be there.
I'm not shaky at all.
You're going to be fine, dude.
I'm nervous.
We're driving all the way down there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Are you going to for the early?
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course.
You guys are amazing.
Bill, they probably get up at 4 a.m.
We do not.
Shots fired.
Do you know when? Okay, so I got to defend myself. I love to freaking sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that old where I'm like, well, waking up at,
Okay, you're doing 7 a.m. dental appointments in Bellevue.
Oh,
I don't like them. But I have a reason for that. No, but because the option logistically is horrible.
Yeah.
I like getting down there early and getting the hell out of their place.
40 minutes or 2 hours.
Exactly. And I don't like it. No, I actually left to my own devices, like on the weekend. Yeah. Shoot, I'll sleep till 7:30, 8 o'clock.
I thought you were going to say something
I thought you were going to say like 10 or 11.
No. 7:30, 8, man. You're not guy. I was
not impressive.
13 years in the military, man. You think I ever got to sleep in like that? I'm still taking advantage of that crap.
So when you hit 8:30, you're like, wow, I really pushed it
no,
today.
that's too long in bed.
And then you feel like crap.
Okay, but what time do you go to bed?
9:30 or 10.
Okay, there you go. That's why.
That's why.
It's a good 8:30.
No.
I mean,
now
we've
we've been tired sometimes. We look at each other and we're like, what time is it? And she goes, 8:45. I'm like, freaking close enough. Right? We're like, yes. But it's usually around 9:30.
That's funny because it's just you guys.
Yeah, it's just
but
us.
You're just like, I don't want to fall into the old person thing where it's like, oh, it's 8:30.
Well, yeah, we actually like sometimes when we're really tired, we'll look at each other and like, what time is it?
Yeah.
And then we're like, damn it. Freaking 7:45. Like we can't go to sleep on that, right? So no, that's ridiculous. So then we'll like try to stay up for another hour or something like that.
Push it a little bit.
I'm pretty sure my parents start getting ready for bed at 7.
Oh, for sure they do.
And then they're chilling in bed
at
from
8:30.
8:30. They're already like just in bed like reading.
Nah,
they're asleep by 9.
Yeah.
Now we
another 10 years. You'll be there.
Maybe
10.
Fuck, I'll be retired by then. I'll do what the hell I want.
4.
That's not long, dude.
I know.
I got 6.5 years till 60. So,
Oof,
so you know.
Well, if you guys got any questions, throw them in the YouTube comments, like, subscribe, all that. It helps us quite a bit. And then also, if you want to just email in, you can do that if you're like an audio listener. grapplingwithpodcast@gmail.com for anything you want to hear about.
Peace.
Thanks, y'all.